George Brett is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, but he left his fans on the edge of their seats when he pulled himself out of Game 2 in Philadelphia for a major surgery. George Brett was born in Glen Dale, West Virginia, the youngest of four boys in a sports-loving family. His brother Ken, the second oldest, was a major league pitcher who played in the 1967 World Series at just 19. Inspired by his older brothers, George dreamed of following in their footsteps. He graduated from Segundo High School in 1971 and was picked by the Kansas City Royals in the second round, 29th overall, of the 1971 Major League Baseball draft. Brett started his professional baseball career as a shortstop, but he struggled with his defensive play to the right. He was soon moved to third base, where his powerful arm became a major asset. Brett played in the minors with the Billings Mustangs in 1971, the San Jose Bees in 1972, and the Omaha Royals in 1973, hitting .291, .274, and .284, respectively. The Kansas City Royals called him up to the majors on August 2, 1973. He made his debut that day against the Chicago White Sox, going 1 for 4 as the starting third baseman. Brett played in 13 games that season, finishing with a .125 batting average. In 1974, Brett secured the starting third base job, but struggled with his hitting. Seeking help, he turned to Charlie Lau, the Royals' batting coach. During the All-Star break, Lau worked with Brett on protecting the entire plate and fixing holes in his swing that experienced pitchers were exploiting. With this new knowledge, Brett quickly improved as a hitter, ending the season with a .282 batting average, 2 home runs, and 47 RBIs in 113 games. 1975 then became his lucky year. In 1975, Brett hit over .300 for the first time, finishing with a .308 average, 11 home runs, and 90 RBIs in 159 games. He led the league in hits and triples. The next year, he won his first batting title with a .333 average, 7 home runs, and 67 RBIs in 159 games. The race for the title was intense, with Brett and his Royals teammate Hal McRae competing against Minnesota Twins teammates Rod Carew and Lyman Bostock. In a dramatic final game against the Twins, Brett went 2 for 4, securing the title by a margin of less than .001 over McRae. Brett's inside-the-park home run, thanks to a drop fly ball by Twins left fielder Steve Bry, clinched his victory. McRae, batting right after Brett, grounded out, sealing Brett's first batting title. From May 8th to May 13th, 1976, Brett set a major league record by getting 3 or more hits in 6 consecutive games. He then graced the cover of Sports Illustrated and made his first of 13 All-Star teams. That year, the Royals won the first of 3 straight American League West titles, sparking a fierce rivalry with the Yankees. In the 1976 ALCS, Brett hit a dramatic 3-run homer to tie Game 5, but the Yankees won on a walk-off. Brett finished second in MVP voting to Thurman Munson. In 1977, Brett became a power hitter, batting .312 with 22 home runs and 88 RBIs, leading the Royals to another ALCS. In Game 5, after an RBI triple, Brett was kicked in the head by Greg Nettles and threw a punch, causing a bench-clearing brawl. In 1978, Brett hit .294 with 9 home runs and 62 RBIs, helping the Royals win their 3rd straight AL West title. Although the Royals lost to the Yankees again in the ALCS, Brett hit 3 home runs in Game 3, becoming the second player to do so in an LCS game. And then Brett made history and increased the glory to his name. Brett had a standout 1979 season, finishing 3rd in MVP voting. He became the 6th player in league history to hit at least 20 doubles, triples, and homers in a season, leading the league in hits and triples while batting .329 with a .376 on-base percentage and a .563 slugging percentage. All these impressive stats led up to Brett's incredible 1980 season, where he won the American League MVP and batted .390, a modern record for a third baseman. His average stayed at or above .400 as late as September 19th, capturing the nation's attention. His .390 average was the highest since Ted Williams's .406 in 1941, only surpassed later by Tony Gwynn's .394 in 1994. Brett also had 118 RBIs in just 117 games, the first to average 1 RBI per game since Walt Dropo 30 years prior. He led the league in both slugging and on-base percentage. Brett started slowly, hitting .259 in April, but improved to .301 by May. In June, he hit .472, raising his average to .337, but then missed a month due to a foot injury. After returning in July, he hit .494, raising his season average to .390. He also had a 30-game hitting streak, during which he hit .467, reaching a high of .407 on August 26th. Despite missing more games in September and a brief slump, Brett finished strong, ending the season with a .390 average and leading the league in on-base and slugging percentages. His performance earned him 17 of 28 first-place votes for MVP. More importantly, the Royals won the AL West and faced the Yankees in the ALCS. He was outshining every other player when tragedy struck, and he had to leave a few games. In the 1980 postseason, Brett led the Royals to their first American League pennant, sweeping their rivals, the Yankees, who had defeated them in the 1976, 1977, and 1978 playoffs. However, during Game 2 of the World Series, Brett had to leave due to excruciating pain from hemorrhoids. Early the next day, he was admitted to a Kansas City hospital and underwent surgery to remove them. He did return shortly and even managed to become a part of a controversy. On May 14, 1981, after a tough loss at Royal Stadium, Brett hit UPI photographer Tom Gralish in the head with a crutch while he was taking pictures. Brett apologized the next day. A couple of weeks later, in a fit of anger, he destroyed 2 toilets and a sink at Metropolitan Stadium, as reported by sports writer Mike Fish. On September 15th at a hotel in Anaheim, Brett confronted Fish about his reporting, pushed reporter Janice Carr, and had to be restrained by teammates Willie Wilson and Greg Keatley. The police were called, but no arrests were made. More and more trouble started coming his way. On July 24, 1983, in a game against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, Brett hit a dramatic 2-run homer off Goose Gossage in the top of the 9th with 2 outs, putting the Royals up 5-4. However, Yankees manager Billy Martin pointed out a rule about the amount of pine tar allowed on a bat. The umpires measured Brett's bat and found the pine tar extended 24 inches, exceeding the 18-inch limit. Home plate umpire Tim McClellan called Brett out, giving the Yankees the win. Furious, Brett charged out of the dugout, and it took 2 umpires and Royals manager Dick Hauser to restrain him. The Royals quickly challenged the call, and American League President Lee MacPhail ruled that while the bat shouldn't be used again, the home run should count. Amid much controversy, the game resumed on August 18, 1983, from the point of Brett's home run, and the Royals went on to win. In 1985, Brett had a standout season, helping the Royals reach their second American League championship. He batted .335 with 30 home runs and 112 RBIs in 155 games, placing in the top 10 in 10 different offensive categories. Defensively, he won his first Gold Glove, breaking Buddy Bell's 6-year streak, and finished second in MVP voting to Don Mattingly. In the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, Brett continued his stellar play, batting .370 overall. In Game 7, he delivered a 4-hit performance. The Royals, trailing 3, won in the series, rallied to win and claim their first-ever World Series championship. In 1988, George Brett switched to first base to reduce his injury risk and had a strong season, batting .306 with 24 homers and 103 RBIs in 157 games. The following year, his numbers dipped to .282 with 12 homers and 80 RBIs in 124 games, raising concerns about his career slowing down. By 1990, Brett faced a tough start and even thought about retiring. His manager, John Wathan, a former teammate, urged him to persevere. In July, Brett bounced back, hitting .386 for the rest of the season. In September, He battled Rickey Henderson for the batting title and clinched it on the last day with a .329 average, marking his third title and making him the only player to win batting titles in 3 different decades. Brett played 3 more seasons, mainly as the Royals' designated hitter, but also filling in at first base when needed. He achieved his 3,000th hit in 1992, though a memorable moment occurred when he was picked off by Gary Guidey of the Angels right after reaching the milestone. Then came the time to end his career. Retiring after the 1993 season, Brett ended his career with a single against Rangers closer Tom Henke in his final at-bat, scoring on a home run by Guidey. This game was significant as it was the last ever played at Arlington Stadium. Wasn't that a one-of-a-kind career? Well, that brings us to the end of the video. Make sure to subscribe if you already haven't, and don't forget to comment telling us who you want us to cover next.